Hi everybody, it's Linda Vandermeer from the Bubble and Sweet blog, and today I'm going to show you how I made my unicorn cake. Actually, it's only part of unicorn. It's a unicorn head, and oh my goodness, it's mounted on the wall. It's kind of cute. And it's a bit magical. It's got pink twirly hair and flowers in its hair and a gold horn, and yeah, it's wall mounted. And the key to this wall mounted cake is that you have to have the structure made up beforehand. So I got my brother to make this up for me. He's kind of awesome at that stuff, and it's got a part wall, a base which makes it really secure, and then this bottom part is just made of some styrofoam which I moulded the fondant around, and inside here it's got some more structure which holds up a cake stand in the centre here, and then all from the top there it's cake and fondant and all edible. So the whole thing's not edible. You can't eat the wall and you can't eat the unicorn nose, but the rest of it up the top is all edible, and it looks really great when you cut into it at the party. This one we've already cut into. Oh, it's so sad. It's only half a unicorn head really, but that's okay. That's what this one was made for. Don't you guys be eating real unicorns. Make cake. Okay, I'll show you how we made it now. So I've got my chocolate cake here ready to carve into layers. This is just 4 layers of chocolate mud cake. It's about 3.5 centimetres or 1 3/4 inches high for each layer. It's just got some chocolate ganache in between. The whole cake is about 16 centimetres high or 6 inches, and it's not quite wide enough because I didn't measure properly. It's 19.5 centimetres wide by about 7 3/4, but that's okay, we'll be able to sort that out after we're carving it. And I've just got it on top of some baking paper on a cake board, ready to go. So I've got a template that I made that looks a bit like my unicorn or horse head, and I'm just going to pop that on here, stick it in place with some toothpicks so it doesn't move around. And then I'm just going to carve around it as best I can. I can just use a big nice knife where I've got the flat end here. So I've carved most of the shape except for this nose because, like I said, I didn't measure the cake quite right, but that's okay. This offcuts that we cut off before, I'm just going to be sticking some of that at the front so I can get that little extra bit of nose that I need down the bottom, and I'll just carve that out. So you can see, because it's mud cake, it's quite a sturdy cake. It's looking quite good. So I'm just going to stick this on with a little bit of extra chocolate ganache, which is just chocolate and cream mixed up. I've got the recipe down below in the notes. So I'll just scoop a bit of that out. And just use it kind of like a glue. And stick it on there. There's going to be some little gaps in the edge there, and you could fill them up with little offcuts of cake, or what I like to do is just make up a little truffle mixture with some of the extra cake and the extra ganache in there. And it's like a kind of gooey filler now. So I can just pop up any of those spaces in there. And if you pop it into the fridge, it'll actually set quite hard. Of course, it would have been better if I had have just made the cake big enough in the first place. Next time. Now I've got a picture of my unicorn head that I want to make up. So what I need to do now is use this picture to carve it. Now the base I've actually got made of a styrofoam that's already sitting on the wall mounted cake that I want to make, the cake board. So I just need to carve this top bit out. So I'm just going to use that template now. I've used my template to just work out where I want to cut it out, and I've just put these toothpicks as a bit of a guide, so I can use that to guide where I need to cut. Okay, so I just cut most of that cake away that I don't need, and I'm going to give it a quick cover with some Ganache, which, like I said before, is just chocolate mixed with cream. The good thing about this is that if you make it properly, boiling the cream, it can stay out at room temperature, which is great for this cake because it's wall mounted. You can't really stick that in the fridge. This is the stand that the cake's going to go on. Okay, so I've popped that cake now onto the wall mount, and I've just carved a little bit extra off to make it look the right shape. You need to cover the whole thing now in white fondant, and oops, I didn't get a picture of that. Sorry guys. Okay, once you've covered the unicorn head with the fondant and you've given it a little bit of shape, what you need to do now is start adding on the extra bits like the unicorn horn and the ears and the hair. So I'm starting off with the ears here, and you just get a bit of white fondant that you've added a little bit of Tylose powder with just to give it a bit of strength, and you just start shaping it with your fingers into a ear shape. So see, I'm just using it to cut that shape out. I like the ends to be a little bit thin, so I'm just pinching them out. Bit of a pointy bit at the top. It kind of looks like a unicorn ear. I'm just going to tap it on the bench to flatten the bottom a bit. So that's my unicorn ear now. And I just need a bit of edible glue or water to stick it to the top of the unicorn cake. Just pop it up wherever you want it to go. And then once it's up, just get a bit of plastic wrap and stick that inside. And that'll just hold it in place until the next day when you've got to do some more work on it. So that's how easy the unicorn ears are. So now you need to stick your unicorn horn in place, which you should really have made up the day before, so that you have a chance for it to set so it'll stand up nice and straight and won't fall over. And what you need to do is get some fondant and colour it an ivory type colour, or maybe an orange, something that'll look good under the gold luster dust that you're going to put on later. And just, I'll show you how I roll it on the bench. You just roll it out like that a little bit, and then use your fingers to roll it out and taper it a bit towards the edge there. And then pop two together. I might need to. And then twist your hands around in opposite directions. And it makes a nice tapered shape horn. Now I'm just going to get a cake pop stick and stick it in the end, and that's what I'm going to use to stick it into the cake. Make sure you use something food safe that you would actually stick in your food normally to hold it in place. And just pop that to the side until the following day, until it's set up a little bit. Now you can make all your beautiful unicorn hair, and it's the same kind of process that you use to make the horn, whereby you rub your fondant into a long tapered lob and then just twist it together like this with your hands in opposite directions. That's what unicorn hair looks like apparently. And then you just use some edible glue to adhere it in place at the back. Now with this structure, it's a great idea to have most of the weight at the back. So put all the long hair at the back that's quite thick, and then just make it shorter as you go towards the front. And that's what a unicorn mane will look like. Around the front fringe of the unicorn, I actually did it a little bit different. I didn't use the two-tone twirly method. I just used one colour. I made it into the long tapered shape, and then I just twisted it around to make it a little bit curly. Just shaped it like that, and I just popped those in place like that. Okay, once they were in place, I just stuck some flowers around the ears and around the horn, and just scattered all around the place. If you want to know how to make sugar flowers, I do have another tutorial on how to make really simple sugar blossoms, and in the notes below I've got a link to it. Okay, now I'm going to make the unicorn eyes. So I start off with a bit of black fondant, and I'm going to shape it into a bit of an oval, just using my hands like that. Just pinch off the end so it looks like a bit of an eye shape, and then just use some edible glue to press it in place and stick it on the eye there. I'm going to put it on the counter now so you can see how I'm going to finish off. What you need to do then is to put an eyelid in place. I would normally use a rolling pin to roll this out so it was a little bit finer. So you just put an eyelid over the top of it and use a tool to stick that in place. And then you need the edge of the eyelid, pop that in place there. I didn't do a bottom one, it just didn't look right. Just to give it a little bit of extra detail, I shaped a little white spot that was shaped like a heart and stuck that in place. And finally I added some eyelashes. Now you'll need some edible glue for that to stick it in place. Oops. Roll it out quite thin. Pop it in place and just use some edible glue once you shape the little eyelashes to stick those in place. And as long as your black fondant isn't too soft, they should stay in place. You might want to add some Tylose powder to make it a little bit more sturdy. How I get mine like this is I actually use a mix of half already made up fondant and chocolate fondant. Okay, so that's the eye that you can just stick in place. If you want to, you could actually add some edible glitter over the top to make it really magical and pretty. Okay, I let my ears and hair set overnight, and then the next morning I finished off the unicorn head just by adding a little bit of pink fondant to the ears. I rolled it out quite fine, and I just pressed it in place, putting a bit of water on the back to adhere it, and then I did the same around the nostrils. Phew, that's been a bit of work, hasn't it? But you're not quite finished yet. The final step is to add a bit of definition with some edible dusting powder. Now I've added a bit of black dusting powder around the nose to give it a bit of a veiny look around here, also down through the neck. And then I added some pink highlights on the cheek, nose and eyes just to give it that pretty unicorn look. Don't forget to add some nice gold luster dust on the horn, because that's where a unicorn's magic comes from, and we need this to look realistic. Now, thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you make your own unicorn, make sure that you send me photos. I'd love to see it. Bye. Now, I'm not saying these are the most adorable unicorn cookies in the world, but they just might be. Super cute.